Today is looking at staying connected. So yesterday was the first of a two-part kind of mini input on staying connected. I think, as I've said in yesterday's post or in yesterday's live stream, and I've said so many times before, we're in this period of social distancing, and really now more than ever, we need to be socially connected. So let's view it as physical distancing. We're physically distancing from those around us, but we really want to be socially connecting as much as we can. So if you haven't already watched part one, then hop over and watch that. If you're on Facebook, you'll see it in the Facebook thread. Just go to the video section. If you're watching this on YouTube, then it's already in the YouTube list of videos as well. So watch part one. That's all about how we can connect with each other in these times of physical distance. And today I thought it would be useful to look at that other part of connection, which is actually in from my perspective and the way that I lead my life, I think this part of being connected is the most important. And that's how we remain connected with ourselves, how we remain connected with our faith. Now, whether our faith is religious faith or spiritual faith, it doesn't matter. Whatever your faith is, that's the time. This is the time more than ever to be connecting with that faith and relying on that faith in times of uncertainty, in times of fear, in times of panic. If we've got nothing else, we've always got our connection to self and our connection to our faith. And for those of you that might be listening to this and saying, well, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in anything, you can still have spiritual faith. And if you're listening to this and you don't have religious faith and you don't have spiritual faith, you will still have a means of being able to connect in with yourself and connect into what feels right and true for you. Whether you call that intuition, whether you call that higher consciousness, I don't really mind. I don't even care. But we all have the capacity and the capability to access that inner knowing, that inner guidance. And if you've been following my work for a while, you'll know that I talk about our own inner sat-nav. And it's just finding your own unique way to access your inner sat-nav, because it's your inner sat-nav that keeps you on the right path, the path that's right for you. And that is really what this stream's all about. It's about how we can use our faith, our spiritual faith, our religious faith, our just knowing, because for some people that's what it is. It's that sense of just knowing. You just know the right thing to do. You just know the right place that you're meant to be at. So that's that. It's the same. What's the word? It's the same end result, but we just have our own unique way of getting there. So I'm just going to pause and see who's joined me. Richard, it's fab to have you here, Richard. So I think what's really important in times like this is that we find our own unique way to tap into ourselves or our faith, whatever that might be. So you might already have some tried and tested practices. You might have your own spiritual or religious practices that you take part in. It might be prayer, might be religious prayer to a particular God. It might be spiritual prayer. It might be your gratitude exercise in the morning. It could be anything at all. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no judgment, certainly not from me. It's just about finding what works for you. And I know that everybody's situation is different. And I know that for myself, while the rest of my household are kind of quietening down and spending more time doing stuff for themselves because they're unable to be at work, my own work is busier than normal. So I'm actually busier than I would usually be. And I'm usually very busy anyway, but I'm finding that I don't have quite as much time, but I'm still keeping that routine of my daily practices, which are my daily gratitude every day. I do some form of meditation or journeying. For those of you that do not find it easy to meditate, I know that I've covered this so many times in my newsletters and in classes. If you find it difficult to meditate, that's okay. Meditation is not the only way to ground yourself. So you can do any activity at all that takes you to the moment, because that's really all meditation is. It's about being able to get into the moment and just be present in the moment for as long as you are meditating. So if traditional meditation practices are quite tricky for you, or you don't enjoy them, or you find you can't switch your mind off, then you could do absolutely anything that absorbs all of your attention and all of your senses. So that's one of the techniques that I teach my students on my animal communication course, is something called the task absorption technique. And it's any task at all where you're using all of your senses. And you can do it preparing dinner. So you're chopping veg. So you've got the veg in front of you. So visually, you can see the vegetables. You can see what color they are. You can see what shape they are. You're holding them so you can feel the vegetable under your hand. You've got your knife. You're chopping, and you can feel the slice of the knife through the vegetable. There will be a scent, an aroma that escapes from the vegetable, whether it's that kind of fragrant zing from carrots or something like onions that make your eyes water. You can smell as you cut into the vegetable. You can taste as you're cutting as well. So something like that, where you're using all of your senses, but you're consciously aware. You're taking your attention to using your senses. You will find that when you're doing that, there's no space for anything else. You're just fully in the moment. If you've got animals, you can do the same with your animals. You can just watch them. You can stroke them, see their fur, feel their fur, watch how they're responding, feel that sense of connection as you're doing that. So there's lots of things that you can do where you're absorbing all of your senses. And one of my favorites is coloring in. So if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I have to set an alarm. Otherwise, I'll still be coloring in when I'm due to see my first client. So coloring in is a really powerful and easy mindfulness activity. And even if you're not gifted artistically, which I certainly am not, then you just pick up a colouring book, a kid's colouring book. You get adults books now. It's a big thing, has been for a few years. You can get adults mindfulness colouring in books, but you can get a colouring in book from anywhere. You can print stuff off the internet. You can print off mindfulness colouring in sheets. So these are just some simple kind of activities that are an alternative to traditional meditation. But something like meditation, where you're really just in that moment, that's a really good way to connect with self. So what I thought I would share with you is what I did. In fact, I think this was on Monday. I'm sure these were the cards I pulled on Monday. I don't pull cards every day. I just do it when I feel inclined. But on Monday, I had sat outside. It was a really nice day here on Monday morning. And I sat outside and I did some drumming. And so I drummed to find a new guide for working in direction spring, because we've just come into spring equinox. And I did my journeying on Monday, and I was shown a beautiful golden eagle. So this was my new power animal for the next 3 months for this new quarter. So after I'd finished the journey, what I did was selected three cards. Sorry, I selected 3 cards from my Earth Magic deck. So you could use, if you've got your own card deck, you could use whatever you have: angel cards, earth cards, animal cards, totem cards. It doesn't matter. But I thought it was really interesting what came up for me, because I felt drawn to drawing 3 cards. And the 3 cards that I drew were Cave, which is Sanctuary. And then Lake, which is, if you can see that there, I don't know if you can see it okay, Stillness. And last but by no means least, spring equinox, which was rebirth. And remember, my intention behind my journeying was about coming into spring equinox and discovering what different guides I might be working with during this particular season. So if you think about this, even in the context of the current coronavirus, most of us are in a place of sanctuary because we're in lockdown at home. For most of us, there's more stillness than we usually would have in our day-to-day lives. And I'm not saying that this is going to be the same for everyone, but my personal view, and it might differ from yours, and that's okay, but my personal view is that there is going to be a rebirth. I do not think the world will be the same post-coronavirus as it was before. So there definitely, for me, I know that I'm very much looking for and expecting and feel that I'm already in some kind of rebirth. And I think for each of us in our different communities, counties, countries, there's going to be a rebirth of some description. So that's just one example of how you can create connection with yourself, connection to your inner guidance, your inner knowing, and use something as simple as a card deck to be the catalyst or the facilitator for that. And what I find particularly helpful, but what I find, I can't even think of the word. Oh, it's not helpful. It's much bigger than helpful. Imperative. I don't know if that's quite the right word. Essential. That's it. So I've got a bit of a tired brain today. So for me, what's really essential at times like this, especially when those around about you are in panic or worrying, is finding that way of connecting to our faith, whether it's religious faith or spiritual faith, doing your grounding every day. When you do your grounding, you're earthing yourself, you're connecting, and you bring that sense of calmness. And that's what, for me, has certainly been the kind of lifesaver for me, and my approach to it all is when we connect in that way, we tend to feel calmer, we feel more centered, I certainly gain strength because I don't feel like I'm alone. If you have a faith that you connect to, then you're never alone. It's not possible to be by yourself. Whether it's God, whether it's Allah, whether it's power animals, it doesn't actually matter. If you have a means of connecting, then you're not by yourself. So you can't possibly be alone with something even as big and huge as this current coronavirus kind of pandemic that we're all in just now. So when we're able to not just connect with others the way we discussed yesterday, but we're able to connect with ourselves and connect with the very source of our faith, whatever that might be for each and every one of us, then it really allows us to be in a place of not aloneness. And it allows us to gather strength. It allows us to feel supported and directed as well, because in any type of faith, you can always be asking for direction, asking for guidance. And then, as you know, it's just about sitting back and waiting and looking for the different ways that will come to you. So I'm just going to pause there and check in, see if we've got any questions. And I apologise for a bit of a noisy background today. Oh, Vivian, great to have you here. Hi there. Amna's here. Welcome, Amna. And hello back to you. Richard's saying, I'm a pianist. I don't chop anything but chopsticks. Or chopping the vegetables. I like that. I was actually had a notion the other day to practice piano, which actually I've never been a piano player, but I did used to play the organ, so it's a keyboard. But it was the day we did the meditation and we used the Arno Part's work, and I did a little bit of research on him afterwards. It's actually quite a sad story that's behind that piece of music, and it was saying that the actual musical notes are quite easy to learn, and that got me thinking about, I wish I had a keyboard and I could practice. But if you read a bit further on, it says that he's particularly gifted at being able to take those very simple notes and create the sound that he created, and that's where the mastering is. It's not just in being able to play and being able to play the tune. I'm going to say, it sounds like someone there's chopping veggies. Yes, they are. So I do apologise. Do apologise for that. I normally have a quiet space for these sessions. So I just want to check to see if there's anything I've missed and what I wanted to share with you. Yeah, we've already touched on the practical stuff. I'll maybe do a quick round robin of that again at the end. But I think really the main thing that I wanted to say here is, as you know, my views are really clear. It's not about social distancing. It's about physical distancing. We need to be socially connected more than ever for our mental health, our well-being, and just the fact that we're human beings. And part of being a human being is about connecting with others. But what's more important than that is being able to connect with yourself, being able to connect with your own individual faith, whether that's religious faith or spiritual faith. And by being able to do that, you can bring calm, you can center yourself, you can feel more grounded, you can feel relief, you can feel support, you can even feel power. And that was certainly how I felt after my journey on Monday. I felt really quite powerful and empowered with the guidance that I was receiving in terms of what I'm bringing to you guys here every day. So that's the kind of key things that I really wanted to share with you here. So let me know if there's anything that you do in terms of your own practices that you might do every day that keep you feeling grounded and centered. And whilst you're doing that, I'll just do a quick round robin of what my kind of top 3 or 4 suggestions to you would be. So firstly, grounding. Grounding technique every day. I've already posted in Facebook group the grounding technique, so you can go back and listen to that and follow that at any time. And if you're watching on YouTube, it's also in the YouTube videos as well. There's a grounding technique in the video section. It's on the YouTube videos as well. So that would always be my first thing, to ground yourself, either using my own grounding technique or any kind of meditative practice, the chopping vegetables, the being out in nature. And I know we can't walk the same, but you could just be in your garden listening to the birds. That's my favourite one to do. So that's a whole host of different ways that you can ground yourself and feel more centered, feel more calm, and get some kind of relief, especially if you're feeling worried and scared or panicked or fearful, whether that's for yourself or your loved ones. When you do the grounding technique, you will become more centered and you'll feel more calm, and you will get that sense of relief as well. The other thing that I would recommend always is that you do what feels right and best for you. And I know that times can be a bit fraught. We've got, for most of us, there's more people in our homes. There's differences of opinion come up to the fore more quickly, more easily. But do what feels right and best for you. Naturally, you want to do that in a respectful way to everybody else. But if everybody's saying do A and everything in your body's saying, I really need to do B, then do B. That's about keeping yourself feeling aligned with what's coming up as best for you, because that's your inner sat nav guiding you to what is best and right for you. And then the other thing that I wanted to share here as well is about giving yourself permission to not be okay. So if you're having a wobble day, or you're finding yourself in complete panic, or even having an absolute meltdown, or you're finding that you just want to kill everybody that stays in the same house as you, then feel okay with that. Just know that it's a moment. It's about whether you stay there or not. That's the key to any feeling or emotion, is whether you are choosing to stay stuck in that place, or whether you're just accepting that that's where you are just now. We're just human. You know, one of my friends said to me last week, I didn't come to this earth and sign up to be Mother Teresa. And that just, it made me laugh at the context of which that came up. It made me laugh, but it's also true. We didn't come to this earth, or I certainly didn't come to this earth to sign up to be Mother Teresa. So I'm human, and I'm living a human existence, and I don't always get it right. And so just allow yourself and give yourself permission to not always get it right. So I think that's quite important. So that was really all that I wanted to say today. So I hope that's been helpful. And Christy's here. Hi, Christy. Welcome, as always. So Richard's saying bare feet at home is good for grounding if your floor permits it. And weeding the garden, absolutely. So anything where you're in the earth. So I was out between clients this morning and just sitting in the garden for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just looking at some of the weeding that needs to be done. I just don't have time to do it just now. But yes, weeding, because you're in the earth, so that's really good for grounding. And being in the earth is really healing and nurturing in its own right anyway. And walking barefoot at home, I'm absolutely a barefooter at home always. So yeah, I would agree with that too. And even if your flooring doesn't technically permit a good grounding experience, especially if you're on the 5th floor of a block of flats, then what you can do is just visualize or imagine that every step that you take, so each time your foot lands on the earth, that the Mother Earth energy, which I always see as red or brown, so brown if you've got inflammatory conditions, so you bring that red earth energy up, or you imagine that red earth energy or that brown earth energy coming up and just coming up through the soles of your feet each time you put your foot down. So that's another way that you can work with that grounding energy, even if your flooring or where your room is situated isn't ideal in kind of traditional terms. So I hope that's nice and helpful for you all. Staying connected is what these daily Facebook Lives are all about, and most importantly, how we find ways to connect with ourselves, because we are our own, I suppose we're our own guru, if you like. We often look externally for guidance and advice, but actually we do know it all for ourselves, even if we don't believe that we do. We are the ones that know it best for us. And I know that sometimes that's hard when you've had a lifetime of being told that you're wrong, or you don't know enough, or who do you think you are, or you're daft, you're thick, you're stupid, you're whatever. Even if you've come from environments that have instilled that conditioning and belief, you do know what's best and right for you. It's just finding the way to get there. And if you do have that particular conditioning, you might need a little bit of extra help and guidance and support, some therapeutic input. And it never ceases to amaze me when I work with clients that I'm often in awe of in terms of their intellectual capability, or the work that they've done, or the difference that they've made, but they can still be carrying beliefs around not being good enough, because that's what they learned when they were small, and they've created belief patterns around those falsehoods that were told to them. But know this: you are your own guru. We all know deep inside what is right and best for us. So Christy's saying, when I go out to feed the birds, I touch the trees, branches, and walk barefoot on the grass. Yeah, absolutely. I like to touch trees, or something really really powerful about that. And I was touching some daffodil bulbs that hadn't come up, and we had daffodils the next day, so that was pretty cool. Walking barefoot on the grass, so that's amazing. I'll quickly tell you a funny story before I go. I remember walking my dog, Lady. This is years and years ago, and at that time we lived beside a beautiful river, and I thought, I'm going to do the dog walk barefoot along the river. And people were saying things to me like, I don't think that's very wise. There's something like dog dirt. And I was like, no, I'll be fine. I'm just trusting. So I walked, I don't know how long we were out, 2 hours or something. And I walked barefoot. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And we were about, I don't know, maybe about 2 minutes from where we were going back onto kind of like the stony path to go back home, come off the actual river walk. So I needed to get my shoes on. So we were just shy of getting to the gate that took us off the river path. And I went and done it, didn't I? And I managed to stand in a big pile of dog dirt, and it wasn't my own dog's dirt. And there's just, the whole thing was just disgustingly gross anyway. But if it was your own dog, it's like changing your own baby's nappy. You don't think about that, but when it's somebody else's baby's nappy, it does feel different. And so, yeah, that was pretty yuck. So I'm very, very cautious now about walking barefoot anywhere. Right, my lovelies, I'm going to go because I have a client waiting for me at 1 o'clock. So I will love you and leave you, and I'll see you here, same time, same place tomorrow. So until then, stay safe and find your unique way to ground, connect, and get in touch with your inner sat-nav, your inner guru, your own methods of getting in touch with your own spiritual or religious faith. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.